Hey, I would bet that most of y'all grew up hearing some of these legends that come to us out of the Middle East. It always seems to be the Arabs who find a genie in a bottle. The genie with the light brown hair. And you know what the genie does. He's going to give you 3 wishes. Well, I read one of these old legends about a certain man who found the bottle, rubbed it just right, out came the genie, and sure enough, he said, I'll grant you 3 wishes. Well, what would you wish for? What would you really go after if you knew you could get 3 things? Well, this man had just had a conversation earlier that day that influenced his first choice. He ran into one of his old buddies, an old buddy he'd not seen in 30 years. And they were so happy to see each other, slapping one another on the back. And so the man who had the genie asked the other one, Are you married? Are you married? And his buddy said, Oh, yeah. Man, I got an angel for a wife. And the man with the genie said, Oh, you're lucky. He said, Mine's still living. And so the first thing on his mind was maybe his life might be better if he could turn his wife into an angel. And that's what he wished for. Wished that his wife would die. Croaked right there. She was dead. Graveyard dead. And people came from all over to pay their condolences. They had the body out for viewing. People were walking by and talking about what a great woman she was, talking about all the good things she'd done, what a sweet person, on and on and on. And as they said all that, the man started thinking, maybe I was a bit premature there. Maybe I made a big mistake in saying I wanted my wife to die. And so now, Jeannie, I wish that she'd come back to life. Well, there she sat up, right there on the death table. Sat up, and they all had a big party. Everybody was happy except for the man who had the genie. You know why he wasn't happy? Because he realized he only had one wish left. And once he made this wish, there was no going back on it. One wish, that's it. And so he asked his friends, what should he ask for? What should he wish? Somebody said, well, wish for immortality, to live forever on this earth without dying. But another person said, well, what good is immortality going to do if you don't have good health to enjoy living on this earth, on and on and on? That was a good thought. And so he got to thinking, I wish for good health. But then somebody else said, yeah, but what good is health if you've got no money? You probably ought to wish for money. And he got to thinking, yeah, money would really help me. But another friend said, yeah, but what good is money going to do if you've got no friends to spend the money with and celebrate with? And the poor man was getting what he deserved, I guess. He was in a terribly confused, stressed out situation. So he went to the village wise man, told the wise man all that had happened, and said, oh, wise man, what should I wish for? And the wise man paused. And then he replied, wish to be content no matter what you get. Because if you and I can live in a state of contentment it doesn't matter what else we get. Whether we've got a wife or not, whether we're healthy or not, whether we got money or not. If you've got contentment, you got peace in your heart, all of life is a whole lot better. And without contentment, without peace in your heart, it's really hard to enjoy anything. And the Apostle Paul talked about this same thing in Philippians chapter 4, verse 12. Philippians 4, verse 12. Here's what he said. I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation. Now, wouldn't you like to learn that secret? How to be content in any and every situation. Jesus talked about the same sort of contentment. He called it peace, and he said, all you that are weary and heavy laden, heavy burdened, in our language, he'd have said, all you who are stressed out and worried half to death, come to me, and I'll give you rest. So, Jesus had this kind of peace. His mind, his soul was at rest. Paul had it. He could be at peace in any kind of circumstance. But what about the rest of us? Do you really think that everybody in this room is living in perfect peace? In a place of contentment where nothing can really rattle us? There's a church sign that you'll see fairly often. Other times you'll see it on a bumper sticker. And here's what it says. I know you've seen this. It says, no Jesus, no Jesus, no peace. And it's N-O. N-O Jesus, N-O peace. Saying if you don't have Jesus, you won't have peace. And then below it says, know Jesus, K-N-O-W. If you know Jesus, you will have peace. You just know Jesus and you're going to have peace. You know, that is a brilliantly thought out little saying. There's just one problem with it. It's not true. Now, maybe it shakes you for me to say that, but I think you know that's not true. I think you know that there are a whole lot of people who know Jesus who do not live in peace. There are people who know Jesus and are saved and on their way to heaven, but they are just as stressed out and just as distressed as any non-Christian. There are plenty of Christians who do not know peace. They want it, but they don't know how to get it. I mean, Christians have lives that are complex and confusing and overcommitted. And what we need is the kind of peace and rest that our main passage talks about today. It's Hebrews chapter 4. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 6 through 7. So God's rest is there for people to enter. But those who first heard this good news failed to enter because they disobeyed God. So God set another time for entering his rest, and that time is today. Now again, what kind of rest is he talking about? He's talking about the peace and contentment that we've been talking about. To live in that state of rest, of spiritual peace, that gives you a foretaste of what heaven is going to be like. And if you and I can somehow allow God to lead us to the place of rest, a state of rest, then we're going to have a little taste of heaven all the way to heaven, instead of a bunch of hell all the way to heaven. Look at verse 11, back in our passage 11 of Hebrews chapter 4. So let us do our best to enter that rest. But if we disobey God as the people of Israel did, we will fail. Let us do our best to enter that rest. He's saying that there are some things we can do to enter that rest. There are other things we may do that will prevent us from getting into peace and rest. Now, let me explain something. This concept of rest, it has a double meaning in this passage, Hebrews chapter 4, a double meaning. First of all, it is referring to heaven. That is the ultimate place of rest. No sorrow, no worries, no tears. It's definitely talking about heaven. And that makes me think of one of my favorite old songs. O land of rest, for thee I sigh. When will the moment come when I shall lay my burdens down and rest with thee at home? He's talking about heaven. He's talking about something in the world to come, but he's also talking about something we can experience here and now in this world. That is what God offers his people here and now. There's another song that describes this place of rest. It's one that the pioneers used to sing when they were on the wagon trains. And can you picture being one of those ladies, the women and children who had to walk behind the ox carts for 2,000 miles? And you know one of the songs they sang? Oh, who will come and go with me? I am bound for the promised land. Now for them, what was the promised land? What promised land were they after? Specifically, they were talking about getting to California, to Oregon, to some place where they were going to have a better life. And though they'd been on this long, tiring journey that lasted up to a year, they were finally going to get to rest, settled, and be at peace. The children of Israel found themselves wandering, traveling on their way to the promised land. For them, it was the land of Canaan. It was a place they wanted to get to in this lifetime. God had told them they could go in. But our scripture tells us that though it was possible, though it was available for them to enter the promised land of rest, most of them did not enter. In much the same way that sadly many Christians do not enter the place of rest. Why didn't the children of Israel enter? Well, it had to do with unbelief. It had to do with disobedience. Do you remember that they went all the way up to the borders of the promised land? On Jordan's stormy banks they stood and cast a wishful eye to Canaan's fair and happy land where the possessions lie. They were so close, but they didn't go in. Do you remember why? Because 12 spies were sent out. 12 spies to scout the land. 2 came back with positive, glowing, glorious reports. Joshua and Caleb said, we can take it. It's ours for the taking. God has given it into our hands. But there were 10 other spies who said just the opposite, who believed just the opposite. They did not believe it was possible. They said, oh, these people in Canaan lived in high walled cities, and they're so big that we are like grasshoppers next to them. Pay attention to that statement. We're like grasshoppers to them. Have you ever noticed that when people are giving you a reason why they cannot do such and such, they will usually exaggerate the difficulty. In their minds, they'll blow it up to be bigger and worse than it really was. Like grasshoppers? Well, not quite. But anyway, they didn't go in because they listened to the reports of unbelief. Back to chapter 4. Chapter 4, verse 3. For only we who believe can enter his rest. Only we who believe can enter the rest. Why is that? It's because if you don't believe it's possible for you to live with the peace that passeth understanding, if you don't believe it's possible for you to dwell in a state of rest and contentment in this lifetime, if you don't believe that's possible, you won't seek after it and you won't find it. That's why it's so important to believe. So let me summarize this. For the Hebrews, the land of rest was a place on the map, geographical place. For the Christian, the land of rest is a state of mind. It's a spiritual condition. It's what the Old Testament calls the secret place of the Most High. To take it a little further, chapter 4 and verse 9. There is a special rest still waiting for the people of God. That means after all these years, after all these thousands of years, there's still a rest available to you and available to me. And for us, by the way, it's certainly not the land of Canaan. You know where the land of Canaan is, right? The hot spot in the Middle East. It is anything but a place of rest. It is a war zone. It's dangerous to even visit there, much less live there. Lena and I got to go about 10 years ago, and when we'd see a group of school children out on a tour, seeing the ancient monuments, there was one parent at the front, one parent at the back, both carrying assault weapons to protect them. It's not a land of rest, but that's good because that's not where God is trying to send us. No. It's not Canaan. This rest is also not salvation. It's not the same thing as salvation. One reason you know it's not salvation is that in Hebrews chapter 4, when these people are being addressed, these are Christian people. They're already saved, and yet they're being told, you need to find this place of rest and contentment because you're not there yet. And the other reason is something we've already said way back at the beginning of the message, and that is plenty of Christians don't have that peace. Now, what's going to happen if you never get to that place of peace? If you never learn to be content with whatever you get? If you never learn how to simply be at rest, calm your mind, and enjoy the presence of God, here's what will happen. The older you get, the more weary you're going to get. The more tired of living you're going to get. I call it world weary. Life just pulls you down, 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 down. And with each year that you live without rest, you get a little lower, a little more pessimistic, a little more sour, a little more cynical. One of my friends from another state told me that he visited a senior adult class at his church not long ago. And he went to that senior adult class thinking, oh, I'm going to find some mentors in here. I'm going to find some people who have got this Christianity thing down. They're going to be victorious Christians. They're going to be living with this peace that passes understanding, and they can help me to get there. He said he'd never been so disappointed in his life. He said this group, senior adults, did nothing but argue and sass back and forth to one another, each trying to make the other look ridiculous and stupid for holding this opinion or that opinion. Just getting old doesn't automatically guarantee we get wise or that we enter into the rest. But it does mean we have the older person has had more time to get there. And although older people can be some of the sourest, most gloomy, pessimistic people on earth, they can also be some of the brightest. They can also be some of the most cheerful, wise old men, mentors, godly older women. And when you're in their presence, it's almost like you can feel the presence of Christ. What's the difference? It's because they've been seeking the peace that passes understanding, and they've found it. They've entered into this land of rest. I got to doing some counting in my head this week, and I was just thinking about people in our church. Wasn't thinking anything negative. I just asked this question: how many people do I know in our church that appear to be living in the state of rest? How many people do I know who seem to have the peace that passes understanding? And I was immediately able to write down 7 or 8 names. And guess what? All but one were senior adults. Those are the ones who got there. Those are the ones who can help you get there. But how are you going to get there? I want to give you just a few practical pointers on how you can get there. One is fix your mind. Fix your mind on the promises of God. That's one reason it's important to memorize Scripture, so that you have the promises of God in your head and you can focus on them. If you want to see how important it is to learn how to fix your mind on the things of God, try something. Go home this afternoon, go in your room and shut the door, and you just sit quietly with a pad of paper and you try to write down every thought that shoots through your mind. I'll go ahead and tell you, you're going to have to put your pencil down because you cannot write that fast. Thoughts go every which way. We're constantly bombarded by thoughts, and many of them are frightening thoughts. Many of them are discouraging thoughts. That's why we have to learn to fix our thoughts on Christ Himself. Philippians chapter 4 and verse 8. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true, honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about these things that are excellent and worthy of praise. You know as well as I do that you can never stop thinking about a bad thing by trying to stop thinking about it. I mean, if I tell you, stop thinking about a slimy, stinking, huge black octopus. Don't think about that octopus. Get that octopus out of your mind. He's nasty. He's dirty. Stop thinking about him. Maybe some of you are strong enough not to go there, but I bet most of you just spent the last 20 seconds thinking about black octopuses. Because the harder you try to stop thinking about something, the more you will think about something. Instead, you refocus. You fix your mind on things that are noble, things that are true, things that are pure, worthy of praise. Fix your mind on those things. You know, I said I thought of several people that I know who seem to live in that place of rest. I'm sure there are more, but one of those in particular has a sign in his bathroom that I've read several times. It's right above the toilet. So you get time to look at it carefully. And it's a quotation from Isaiah 26:3. You know what it says? Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is fixed on thee. Who does God keep in perfect peace? Those whose mind is fixed on him. Learn to fix your mind on him. And eliminate unnecessary spiritual conflicts. There are so many things that you can fill your life up with which are unnecessary, but they will keep you running and jumping and hopping all over the place. If you want to learn to dwell in peace and you want to be in a state of spiritual rest, one of the first things some of us need to do is simplify our lives. Downsize. Cancel some of those activities that you just think you got to be at. Cancel some of them. And all that junk that you're keeping and you're thinking about renting a storage shed for it. If you're thinking about renting a storage shed, you know what? You got too much stuff and you need to sell it or get rid of it. Simplify. It's exhausting to keep up with all these unnecessary things. Another one is, if you want to live in peace, you cannot live with divided loyalties. What does the scripture say? You cannot serve both God and money. But if you're trying, you're going to be stressed and distressed. You will not be in perfect peace. You'll be in perfect turmoil. What will you do? Will you have courage or will you compromise what you know is right? Will you do just what is to your personal advantage or will you do things for the good of others? Are your loyalties divided? One other one is dishonesty. Oh, dishonesty will ruin your peace of mind. Even if you're in the place of rest, dishonesty will chase you right back out of it. You know, one reason is you get dishonest long enough and it gets hard to remember who you told what. That gets stressful. And you forget which figures are correct and which ones you forged. You forget where you told your spouse was on that night as opposed to last night. There's an old saying. Oh, what a tangle web we weave when first we practice to deceive. Tangle webs. Tangle web is not a place of rest. Last thing is, make up your mind what you're going to do. Because indecision will rob you of peace of mind. The inability to make a decision, a tough decision, will keep you up unnecessarily at night. Some of you are undecided whether you're going to accept Christ and follow Him or whether you're going to ignore it. And you go back and forth, and you'll never have peace. You'll never even get on the road to peace until you accept him. Some are having to decide, am I going to seek after the peace that passes understanding, or will I just keep living the way I've been living and wind up a sour, miserable old wretch? A lot of decisions to make. Make the right decisions, and you'll find yourself in much more peace. Now, as Lynn and the group is coming back, I think Retta is going to play for us. Let me say that if you are in a state of turmoil today, let's say you're in turmoil and you have been for several days, maybe even several years, there is help available. God wants to give you peace. He wants to take you to a land of rest. And there are certain people He wants to plug into your life who already have that peace and therefore know how to give it to you. And there are certain other people you need to stay away from. Now, with teenagers, we usually stay away from the ones who are smoking dope and jumping rope and cussing their one another's mamas. Stay away from them. Let me tell you who you adults need to stay away from. You need to stay away from those negative, whining people who tend to hang out at coffee shops and barber shops, because they will fill your mind with anything but peace and rest. Ask God for help. Seek, and you shall find.